Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be reviewing the new Hummer EV SUV. And I am going to make some comparisons to the Rivian R1S, which is also a crazy electric SUV off-roader. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to National GMC here in American Fork, Utah for giving me some time with this Hummer. I'm going to include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. If you have any questions, just ask for David. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Let's start off with the EV specs. We have a 212 kilowatt hour battery pack paired to a tri-electric motor setup. One in the front, two in the back. This gives the Hummer EV about 314 miles of electric driving range, and then it has 830 horsepower and 1,200 pound-feet of torque. Now we're going to start things off with the key fob, which is GM's normal key fob, but it says Hummer EV there on the back, so it's pretty cool. You can see the normal functions on it: lock and unlock, remote start, and then that's to open up the rear. But we're going to start with the frunk in this video because, well, storage space life. So popping into the frunk, you guys can see it says HEV, which is really cool. And I mean, if you guys are wondering if this is a lot of storage space, it has an escape button, so that means that it's big enough to fit a person, so big enough by my standards. Now, before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So first off, this Edition 1 comes with this cool satin paint. It definitely pops quite a bit. And being a Hummer EV means we got the cool light bar on the front end. That's so sweet. Anyways, you guys can see the recovery points down below, extra beefy, and then the actual headlights are right here in the bumper. So it's definitely a unique look at a light with that giant light bar and then the headlights down below. So our turn wheel setup is 305, 55, 22 in the front and over in the rear. And look at these wheels. They look absolutely crazy. You guys can see all-terrain tires with the Hummer EV. And then notice how we have these cool blacked out fender flares. Then you guys can see HEV. And then I love the side steps here at the bottom. And then here's your full side view on the Hummer EV SUV, and I will say this, I think this looks cooler than the truck. Just my personal opinion. I just always think SUVs look a little bit better. Okay, so this is normally where I go over the cargo area of a vehicle, but as you can see, press this twice, and I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, so it could be user error, but I tried to do the inside button as well and it isn't opening, so yeah, we're not gonna be able to see the cargo area, I guess, from the outside. I'll show it to you guys on the inside, but let me know in the comment section below if I'm doing something wrong that is not making this pop open. But anyways, cargo space aside, I love the taillight design, and then notice the bumper is blacked out, and then look at the size of this spare tire carrier. It looks absolutely just preposterous, but I love it. I mean, look at the back end overall. It's such a cool look. Let me know what you guys think about the looks on the Hummer EV, but I think this thing looks incredible. Now, popping inside, I actually really like the material use throughout. It has a really cool texture to it. It definitely feels more utilitarian. And then you guys can see the handle, also another cool point. And then taking a look at the seats, you can see the two-tone coloration, and then notice how it's perforated all down the center. And now that I'm in the back here, you guys can see legroom's really good. We also have a storage pocket. We got our own climate zone here in the rear. Heated seats in the back as well. And by the way, these seats are very comfortable, so good job with that. We also, of course, have a cup holder armrest. And then last but not least, headroom. It's good. And you guys probably noticed we got some glass roof action because this is a convertible. You can take off the top. And then here's a view of that cargo area. You guys can see there's buttons there to lower down the seats in the back, which is really cool. But again, this is a big block of cheese, so lots of space vertically and horizontally, frankly. It's a very big cargo space, which is cool. Now, taking a look at the front door panel, you guys can see again with that trim, I really like the texture on this. I wish more automakers would use this material. Same thing at the top here, and we've got memory seats, we've got all of our window controls here, mirror adjustments. The mirrors do have blind spot monitoring, and 1,177 pounds of payload capacity. Now, taking a look at the seat, you guys can see there with the headrest and then Hummer EV, and then notice how it's perforated all down the center portion. Power adjustments here on the side, and we've got a bunch of practical controls. So this is for the front trunk, that's for the rear hatch. Your lane departure, your window control to like roll down every single window at once, which is cool. And then look at this vent. Now, taking a look at the steering wheel, really like the design. This, of course, comes with Super Cruise, and notice we got our HEV logo there. Practical controls here on either side with our steering assist and everything, part of the Super Cruise system. This is with the Regen, because again, fully electric. So we've got this full digital gauge cluster here in the center. I like the overall theme and design. Notice it shows us our stated charge and then how much range we have, which is cool. And then you got a bunch of different bits of vehicle information here on the side. So yeah, normal practical gauge cluster. So we've got this 360 camera system. Trajectory lines turn with the steering wheel, and I like where the camera's located, kind of as the theater. Anyways, you can see I have a bunch of different viewpoints here with the Hummer EV, so really good camera system overall. And then as for the infotainment system itself, again, has the Hummer theme, which just kind of adds to the excitement, activating off-road experience. There's so much stuff to this. Like, I literally could have like a dedicated video just to the infotainment system with how much information you can see through this and all the different stuff you can do. But the next thing we're gonna go over is the drive mode. So, cool little theater. Notice that shows the Hummer driving through. It's just fun. Like, I don't know. Again, I think it just adds to the theater of the Hummer EV overall. And then you guys can see the analog controls here at the bottom. I like the physical buttons. The toggle switches, it's really cool, kind of the overall feel of those. And the same thing with these controls here at the very bottom. And just notice throughout, this kind of has this like mix between luxury and utilitarian with the design. It almost, again, it has a very spaceship feel, which they're kind of going for that with this. Again, edition 1 right there, which also adds to the flair. And then look at the vents here in the center. And we got stuff like wireless phone charging pads, some USB action, cup holders, and then we have our shifter there to put it into gear. So just like the truck, we've got air suspension, so we can raise and lower it with those little buttons. Twisting is for the drive modes, for those of you wondering. This does, of course, have the crab walk as well, and you can see for the rear steer system. So fun controls right there. And, woo! Pretty big center console here. I like the feel. This has a sturdy feel to it. I really like that, actually. And while we're on the topic of storage, there's your glove box. And then this does have, of course, a rear view camera mirror. And then I showed you guys the glass roof earlier where you can take off the panels. So here's what I want to see here for this edition 1. You guys can see all the standard equipment. And by the way, this color is called Moonshot Green Matte. Kind of cool. Total MSRP, $106,290. Let's see how it drives. Let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood, both of the mirrors, throughout the rest of the rear. Surprisingly, that back window's kind of a little bit on the smaller side, but I'd say overall, I mean, just like most blocks of cheese, visibility's good because you got bigger windows. And this actually, I don't know, somehow, like, because it makes it feel more open, it almost makes the visibility feel better. But four-wheel steering always makes life so much easier. Now, I was honestly surprised by the MSRP pricing on this. I thought the MSRP pricing would be higher, but yeah, I mean, 106,000 sounds like a lot of money, but when you compare it to like the R1S, I mean, that's right there price-wise. I mean, more expensive actually for like loaded up R1S. So yeah, kind of interesting. And this is a much bigger vehicle compared to the R1S. So first off, let's kind of just be chill here. See what mode we're in. I will say I do find it somewhat annoying how long it takes to go through the drive modes. I guess we'll just keep it into normal mode here. Punch it. You don't feel like you're going that fast because it's so big. Like, it's such a big vehicle and you're so high up off the ground, but you look at the speedometer and you're like, oh crap, I'm going pretty fast. So yeah, kind of interesting, that is for sure. I imagine the launch feels crazy with this too. You know what? Yeah, I mean, it does push you back in your seat, but again, it also kind of isolates you. I will say though, it doesn't isolate you as much as the truck, which I think is a good thing, because then it makes it more of an experience, if you ask me. Man, this is so it's so fun. I know this isn't like the longest drive on the planet, but got to keep the miles low on this bad boy. So here's what I'm feeling. Suspension damping is way better than the R1S. The R1S is horrible with the suspension damping, like one of the worst vehicles I've ever tested. I don't know what Rivian is doing, but they need to fix that. And you know, it has more of a tank-like feel, right? It's a bigger vehicle and you feel it. The four-wheel steering helps out quite a bit. I love how this thing drives. And this is the weird thing is, when I drove the Hummer EV truck, I wasn't like super excited. I was like, oh, this is kind of whatever. I'm like, it's cool, right? It's got tons of power and it's a Hummer and all that kind of stuff. This excites me a lot. I don't know what it is about, you know, the SUV part that makes it more exciting than the truck, but it for some reason it's more exciting. So with that being said, I do think this is better than the R1S. I think it's a better value because it's less money, right? MSRP to MSRP. And I think it looks cooler. I think it drives better. So yeah, I think that the Hummer EV SUV for like the Hummer stuff is probably going to end up being the sweet spot, at least from what I've tested so far. Because it just, I don't know, it's smaller vehicle, looks cooler. I think this is what more people are going to end up going for, but let me know your thoughts.